Bruckner to the outside. We're in the gate. And they're off. Baldoro and Kawasaki are the first two out of the gate. They're joined by Bruckner, and there goes Bruckner sprinting up to take the lead. Hudson Ridge is in the mix in the early going, followed by Hula Candy and American Empire at the back of the field. So it will be Bruckner crossing over and leading the way around the clubhouse turn. Down on the inside, it's Baldoro with Hudson Ridge now taking that second spot. Hula Candy is in fourth, 3 lengths off the lead. Kawasaki now fifth with 5 to make up and 2 in front of American Empire. Onto the backstretch, and it's Bruckner, 3/4 of a length. Hudson Ridge second, Baldoro at the rail, just in front of Hula Candy. Then Kawasaki and American Empire, 6 lengths front to back. There's a half-mile left to go, and it's Bruckner in front. 3/4 of a length to Hudson Ridge. Baldoro down at the rail. Hula Candy, 3 off them in fourth. Kawasaki and American Empire. They're covered by 6 or 7 lengths as Hudson Ridge puts the pressure on Bruckner, who's been in front. Those two stride for stride. Baldoro's had a good trip just behind them in the yellow colors third. Hula Candy, Kawasaki inching right into contention with the pink cap. They're at the top of the stretch. It's Hudson Ridge, tackled by Baldoro. Kawasaki looking for room, coming toward the inside. Hudson Ridge in front with a furlong left to go. Kawasaki, Baldoro attacking on both sides. Hudson Ridge just keeps digging. Kawasaki just hit the rail, and it is Hudson Ridge. Now Baldoro second. Hudson Ridge wins it. Baldoro second. Kawasaki a troubled third. And then it was American Empire. Waiting on Jerry's Spirit. We're in the gate. And they're off. Jerry Spirit wasn't quick out, but he's rushing up to battle with Dedois. Dedois in front, Jerry Spirit second. Devil Moon along the rail in third. Supernal well spotted fourth, 4 lengths off the lead. Then Gypsy Tears, Where's the Loot, and Took Charge off a tad slowly trails. It's Dedois joined by Devil Moon, who's 3/4 back second past the half-mile pole. Jerry Spirit third. Supernal has 4 lengths to make up. He's followed by Gypsy Tears, who's the gray. Where's the Loot 3 deep and Took Charge. Less than 3 furlongs to go. 3 of them vying for the lead as Jerry Spirit makes his move. Supernal ranging up on the outside to take second. Those are the nap pair coming to the quarter pole, 1-2. Where's the Loot is extremely wide while trying to launch a bid. 3/16 to go. It's Jerry Spirit, Supernal 2 back second. In the center of the track, Where's the Loot in third, followed by Gypsy Tears. They're coming to the 16th pole, and Jerry Spirit has the lead, and he's showing no signs of weakening. Jerry Spirit is simply too strong. Jerry Spirit opens up, wins by 3.5. Supernal second, Photo third between Gypsy Tears and Where's the Loot. In the gate. And they're off. Unwritten Code is going out for the early lead. September Magic alongside in second. They're followed by Ivory Moon third. It was an awkward start for Gem Mine, who's fourth and now 4 lengths off the lead. She's a joker and over-attracted off slowly, 9 lengths off the pace. Being set by the favorite Unwritten Code. who goes by the half-mile pole just in front. Ivory Moon moves to the inside of that rival. September Magic in the clear third. And Gem Mine comes under a ride fourth, 3.5 off the pace. She's a Joker, inches up while 3 deep and over attracted at the back. It's Unwritten Code and Raylu Gutierrez leading the way, coming to the quarter pole. She's a Joker makes a bold bid on the outside. And September Magic, those two go on as She's a Joker and September Magic are head and head at the 8th pole. September Magic on the inside and She's a Joker. And here's Over Attracted, who's coming with a flourish on the outside. Over Attracted with a head of steam comes to mow them all down. September Magic second, She's a Joker third, Gem Mine a distant fourth. And they're off. Still Unwritten is very fast from the outside, goes to the front. Tapatia Mia is flashing some early interest, and Can You Dream is at the rail now taking second. Bella Shabella fourth, already 6 lengths off the blazing fast Still Unwritten, who has opened up a 5 or 6 length lead on Tapatia Mia in second. Can You Dream third. Bella Shabella passed by My Love Caroline, who's making progress on the outside. Then Cara Rose and Aquila Azul is far, far behind. Still Unwritten with a 5-length lead and a furlong to go. Shortening stride, though. The lead down to 3. Here's Tapatia Mia taking aim, and Cara Rose is flying home down the center of the track. Tapatia Mia gets the jump, has to fend off Cara Rose. Tapatia Mia still full of run, and Tapatia Mia scores. Cara Rose second. My Love Caroline third for Still Unwritten and Can You Dream. Number 4, Delmar Jerry. The late pick 5 starts with the 5th. Last few left to load. And they're off. Inch is going out for the early lead, So I'm Told, flashing good early interest, and Regal Patriot along the inside. So it's Regal Patriot and So I'm Told. Those two speed 3 clear of Jetivator in third. Down at the rail, Bob's Blue Moon, Inch, who broke well, 5th, and 5 off the pace, 3 clear of Don't Swear Dave and My Summer Dream. They head past the half-mile pole, and it's Regal Patriot leading the way by a length. So I'm Told second, with Bob's Blue Moon and Jetivator side by side, Inch behind that pair. Another 2 lengths back by Summer Dream and Don't Swear Dave. Regal Patriot takes him to quarter pole, leading the way just under a length to So I'm Told. Jetivator, the 9-year-old, inches right into contention. He's the gray on the outside as Regal Patriot scampers 3 lengths cleared. Jetivator takes second. So I'm Told is dropping back far outside Inch and Don't Swear Dave, a 16th to go, and Regal Patriot with a commanding lead and a no doubt about it victory for Regal Patriot. Another for Tiago Pereira. They scamper home by 4 or 5. Don't Swear Dave in a photo with Jetivator, and in behind them, Bob's Blue Moon 4th. Approval rating. Back, bottom dollar, prefer to the outside. In the gate. And they're off. Approval rating out alertly. Bottom dollar is plenty fast. And here's C Plum Run, quicker than both, up to take the lead. Tapatia Leah moves through on the inside. They're followed by Parlay Bay. Quafa is next, 7 lengths off the lead. 2 clear of Forest Dazzle, inside Cote Blanc. Then it's Reckless Ride, and the distant trailer is Club Stiletto. It is a strung out group that rounds the far turn. Tapatia Leah's C Plum Run joined 3 deep by Approval Rating, who's very much in the thick of it, third. Then Bottom Dollar fourth, 2 lengths off this battle, angling to the forepath but has some run. Quafa is also in striking range as the field turns for home. Tapatia Leah cuts the corner and goes for home. Approval Rating chasing, and Quafa in the middle of the racetrack continues to make solid headway. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go. Quafa and Approval Rating are head and head for the wire. Approval Rating or Quafa. Approval Rating, Quafa. Quafa on the outside with good momentum. Quafa gets up for the upset. Second went to Approval Rating, Tapatia Leah, and Bottom Dollar. They're in the gate. And they're off. Tenacious Candy, Jolie Candy along the inside has some sharp early foot and is up to take the lead. Just behind them, Lanetto with the white blinkers moves through to take third. Charm Dream is now in fourth. On the extreme outside, about a length behind Tenacious Candy. Then it's Almost Summer, racing a length clear of Nephili. Rebel Exis is next, some 10 lengths off the lead. 4 clear of Buds and Suds. Johann's Candy is next, and at the back of the field is Cooling Off, who had a little bit of a tough start. Jolie Candy, in the meantime, has scampered away. It's a 4-length lead suddenly coming to the quarter pole. Kyle Frey asking Charm Dream to close that gap in second. Another 2 lengths back comes Lanetto in third there at the top of the stretch. And it's Jolie Candy still doing it well with a 4-length advantage. Charm Dream is starting to pick it up now, though. And here's Charm Dream eating up the ground with each and every stride on Jolie Candy. Jolie Candy short lead on the outside. Charm Dream sweeps on by. And here comes Buds and Suds. Look at Buds and Suds blow by them all. That's 3 for Tiago Pereira and a big day for Steve Knapp too. And they just rolled home. In the meantime, Cooling Off came from nowhere to get a slice. Makes it 2 wins for the progeny of Stay Thirsty today. 2 wins for breeder Terry Lovinger. Cornelia Fort to the outside. And they're off. Princesa del Tigre is the quickest. Practical Dazzle up close in the early stages, and Epion moves up to claim third. Then Thirst for Passion in fourth. Cornelia Fort not the best of beginnings and now has to go wide, tucking in now. About 2 lengths clear of Nothing Is Forever, who settles in mid-pack. And down at the rail comes She's Misbehaving, 8 lengths off the lead. It's another 2 back to Wink and a Grin, and Quantum Energy is at the back. Onto the backstretch, and it is Princesa del Tigre leading the way by a length and a half. Thirst for Passion second, Epiona close-up third. Cornelia Fort and Practical Dazzle racing fourth and fifth, followed by Nothing Is Forever and She's Misbehaving, 3 lengths in front of Wink and a Grin, and Quantum Energy continues at the back with less than a half mile to go. And it's Asa Espinoza and Princesa del Tigre clear by 2 to Epione. Thirst for Passion now losing ground steadily in third. At the rail comes Practical Dazzle at joint fourth, 4.5 lengths off the lead, and Cornelia Fort is right next to her. It's another 2 lengths back, and now both Nothing Is Forever and Quantum Energy are starting to roll from the back of the field. Quantum Energy, and behind them, Wink and a Grin also getting going. Here come the closers. Quantum Energy has the first run. In the meantime, Princesa del Tigre still with a 2-length lead, and now Wink and a Grin is flying home. Cornelia Fort in between them. Wink and a Grin with an explosive run through the stretch, runs them all down. Cornelia Fort was second, Quantum Energy third, and then Princesa del Tigre. Race named Happy 13th Birthday, David Martinez. And they're off. Haywood is sent hard from the outside. Brazen Sun matching strides through the opening furlong. Behind them, Manchild. Leia's Candy is down on the inside. Halo Rando is fifth, but only 4 lengths off the lead. They're followed by Blame George, chasing money at the rail. 4 clear of Otromas. Rogue Sun is next, and a gap of 5 to slow starting Major Tom. Haywood into the far turn has a 2-length lead on Brazen Sun. Halo Rando is a clear-cut third now at the rail. It's Leia's Candy, Manchild in fifth. Another 2, Chasing Money, starts to pick up some momentum, has 7 to make up. A gap of 5 then to Rogue Sun, who races on the outside of Otromas. Between those two, Blame George and Major Tom, top of the lane, and Haywood still has the lead by 3 lengths. Out in the center of the track, Chasing Money is starting to kick in. Inside of him, Brazen Sun is currently second. They're coming to the 16th pole, and Haywood. It's Haywood going to take them all the way. Haywood and Edwin Maldonado by 4 lengths. Brazen Sun second. Manchild third in front of Chasing Money, and Major Tom from last completes the super high 5.
Welcome to the biggest Kentucky Derby party west of Kentucky. Hi, everybody. My name is Tom Quigley. Delighted that you decided to join us on Kentucky Derby Day. There are three things I'm looking forward to today. The first one, of course, would be the running of the 151st Kentucky Derby. Post time for that is 3:57 p.m. Pacific time. All eyes will be on Louisville, Kentucky, both here at Santa Anita and around the world. The second thing I'm looking forward to are the two carryovers today. That's right. Nobody hit the pick six, $20,000 in the pick six pool. That'll start in race number 5 on today's 10 race card. And the super high five also went unsolved yesterday, $10,000. That'll go in race number 10. The third thing I'm looking forward to, listening to my good friend Frank Mirahmadi discuss the racing action both here in Kentucky for the next 49 minutes or so. Frankie, happy Derby Day. Welcome to the seminar.
Happy Derby Day. Thanks for having me on this big day for two reasons. A, it's one of the biggest days of the year. B, for the next, 50 minutes or so, there will be no simulcast distractions.
No simulcast wagering allowed.
Or simul-torture, as we call it, right? Simul-torture.
You know, Frank, I know you were in attendance for American Pharoah's winning the Kentucky Derby, and of course you were part of the winner's circle.
I was.
That had to be an unreal moment for you. Have you been to any other Kentucky Derbies besides that?
Yes, my first one was 3 years earlier for the Great California Chrome, and that was really a phenomenal moment.
Were you a guest of the owners?
No. As a matter of fact, just a group of us went and had a good time. And, one of the highlights for me was on Oaks Day, which I had specifically bought the correct attire, a little pink action, nice jacket, the whole brigade. I ran into, from a distance, Art Sherman and his family, and he waved me over, and it was just very kind. It was reminiscent of a time when Mike Smith was he was riding Zenyatta, and what was there going to be your 17th win or something like that at Hollywood Park, and he pulls up in an SUV, rolls down the window and said hello to me, who am I, right? I was working at TVG at the time. But when I saw Art and took a picture with them, it was a very, very fine moment. It was a very enjoyable moment. And it meant a lot, yeah. And then he jogged home. It was great. I mean, you got to root for the California horse when you're there. And the seats we had were not far from the starting gate, so top of the stretch. So when they turned for home, he had a big lead and he blasted right out of the gate. It was just a great thing to watch. But then when they ran by us, it's the similar angle. It was a little further to the top of the stretch that I had when I watched Honest Lady in the Breeders' Cup Sprint when she was coming after Kona Gold.
Bobby Franklin,
she didn't get there, unfortunately. Kona Gold. Kona Gold held us off, but Bobby loved her that day. He really did. But anyway, I wish she got up. Believe me, I wheeled her.
You and I were in attendance, but I didn't wave at you from a distance. I was actually at Churchill Downs that day as well for the Breeders' Cup.
We met the day before that, as a matter of fact. You and I.
At the hotel.
Yes, sir. We met at the golf house. You and I. But anyway, that vantage point, you could see the closers. Just like I saw Honest Lady that day at Churchill, you could see commanding curve. He was the 17 in those West Point colors. And I said,
$1 billion to 1.
Yeah, and I thought this is not good for California Chrome. Just because, when you see that acceleration from that angle, it's often like watching above Clocker's Corner, where that's sometimes a very fun place to watch. You're not going to get the finish. You might have to run to a TV to get the finish, but different vantage points give you great memories of especially big races.
The race is developing right there at that point, right? The horses that are going to close are making their move. So you've been to 2 Kentucky Derbies. Any others?
Nope, just those 2. And I would always recommend to everybody, if you have a chance, at least do it once. I would strongly recommend it. It's a great experience.
Some people love it. Some people have been for 40 consecutive years.
I'm not a big crowd guy.
Yeah, it's a big crowd.
I'm not into all that. I mean, it's you get in the bathroom line, you got to wait for it's just too much. But as you get older, especially, but I think you should do it at least once. It's a great, great fun time. And when you see the pictures, you see everyone having fun, and it's a holiday. It's a celebration. Correct. There are a lot of people you see on social media, a lot of people that you maybe don't talk to on a daily basis, going there and just having such a great time. And that's the moment.
People are going to have a great time here at Santa Anita. A lot of activities going on, including a hat contest. Grandstand's already filling up when we walked in before the show. A lot of people are already in attendance, still 4 hours before post time. Yeah. Frank, I know that you took a look at not only the Santa Anita card, but also the Churchill Downs card. Obviously, the Kentucky Derby. We talked about California horses and the Kentucky Derby journalism likely to be the post-time favorite. But you like a different horse to win the Kentucky Derby. Tell us who that is and why.
Well, I want to first start with journalism and say that, look, he's a Santa Anita Derby winner. I think that from a standpoint of momentum and good energy, it couldn't be better for that team. Michael McCarthy, a pure class act. I've seen Reese Bully on a few occasions. He couldn't be feeling better. He's won a couple races this week already. He's doing well. I didn't realize that his agent, Matt Nakatani, is the former kicker for the University of Louisville. I had no idea. I was reading all about him. So, from a mojo standpoint, everything's right. And the way he won here, I called him the best in the West. He is the best in the West. But he's 3-1, 7-2 in that range. And guess what? He might win. And people say, how did you not get 6-5 on this horse? He's a great horse. I just have a feeling that it's the year for Godolphin. And you know what? This weekend is shaping up.
They won the Oaks.
They won the Oaks yesterday with good cheer, undefeated. Michael Stidham, one of my good friends, just won a race moments ago with Think Big, mowing down Boss Sully, who that was a rough beat for Boss
West
Sully.
Coast
He looked
based horse, Brian
nice horse.
Corner.
Really nice animal and great trainer.
He's probably muttering to himself somewhere in the facility.
That's a tough beat because it looked like, because Think Big usually comes from the clouds. Think Big took aim at the 8th bow and he looked like he was gone. So that was a wicked beat for them, but a nice win for them. But Godolphin has two very nice horses. Now, the more obvious one is Sovereignty, and I was very close to making him my top pick, and I truly believe he has a better chance of winning than my top pick. But East Avenue at the price of 40-1, to me, this is a horse that was favored in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, a horse trained by Brendan Walsh. Brendan Walsh has been on absolute fire in Kentucky racing over the last several weeks, several months, and this horse has speed. I know there's been a lot of talk about how much speed is in there and what's going to happen. It doesn't always come out the way it looks on paper, and I just think that at the price, I'm putting him on top. East Avenue and Sovereignty. I think journalism rates a very strong look. He's a deserving favorite. Baeza, I can tell you this, from a financial standpoint, the number 21 would be best for me at odds of 60-1, documented. And then Tiztastic.
i.e. future book.
One future book play only. And I got to give credit to the man. Who's the guy you quote most on this seminar of anybody? Brad Free, of course. Brad Free was here when I saw him on a weekday. I go, wow, what are you doing here? He said, it's the coronation. And he has been all over Baeza. And so, it just so happened that we have collaborated.
The jockey assignment doesn't hurt.
Of course it doesn't. I feel bad actually for Hector Barrios because Hector Barrios deserves this chance. But when you can go to Flavien Prat, you have to do it. And I understand that's a bad beat for Hector because Hector has quietly become an absolute superstar. And speaking of Brendan Walsh, the race before, not the race before, but the 9th race.
Your best bet on the Churchill Downs card.
Absolutely love. In fact, it's going to be, I was looking, I said, the way this is going, we're probably going to be like talking about the 9th race here. Turns out it's going to be about right after our anthem. It's going to be time, or at least after the changes. I think it's going to be after the changes, whatever. But that race is going to be coming up at some point, maybe in the middle of the seminar, but I love New Century. He's a good-looking horse.
What's his morning line?
He's 3-1.
Okay.
I think
Why do you love him so much? Did you see a previous race?
Well, I watched him in the summer at Woodbine, and I saw him in the post-parade, and then I watched him the whole race, of course, when you're invested. And he's a beautiful, beautiful horse. And the way he won, I'm surprised he hasn't won since. But again, it's Brendan Walsh. It's this, you get the services of Mr. Ortiz. That horse should come mow that field right down. I really believe that, and that's my strong. People who have asked me, who do you like? Yeah. I just said I've been just doing auto. Repeat, 9th race to 3. That's my comment to everyone who's asked me who I like.
Frank, not only are you the track announcer here at St. Anita, but you're also the track announcer, of course, at Saratoga. Do you think that gives you an edge evaluating talent from coast to coast? I
don't know. I mean, it's fun. Let's put it this way. I just went and watched Sovereignty's debut last night because he was there, and I wanted to see what I thought of him. And it was a very, very good maiden race that he ended up finishing 4th. I gave him a good call at the end. And just watching him, like I said, I almost switched. In fact, after I watched it, I'm like, this is the Derby winner. But I just think that sometimes I want to remind you or just remind myself and talk about a dear friend of mine who's no longer with us, Jay Richards of Horse and Jockey.
Horse and Jockey.
Whose real name was Joseph Marek, by the way. But Jay Richards sounded better, instead of saying, hi, it's Joe Marek. Anyway.
It's like Hollywood, except it was Vegas.
My first shift on TVG was with Mr. B, Bob Bedecker, as well as Mike Joyce, and Jeff Chapman, who works here, was our producer. And then the next day I went on a show with Chris Katulak, which was like Horse Racing 101 or something of that nature. And afterward, I got an email from Jay Richards. I used to listen to Jay, and I really believe, without any doubt in my mind, that as a young kid, his influence in listening to his recreations that were so entertaining, where a 6-furlong race would last 2 minutes, the stretch would last 45 seconds. But I listened to him, and I really believe he had an influence on my life because I got so into track announcers, and he was like, quote unquote, a fake announcer recreating, but he was phenomenal, a great show. Anyway, he ended up going through a lot in his life, some ups and downs, a lot of downs, and he came back revived like Vibrant, and he was working for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and he wrote an article about a horse named Sea Hero, and he predicted that this horse would win the Kentucky Derby.
Jerry Bailey in the slop.
Yes, that's right, Mac Miller. And so what he said was, a friend of his, a good friend of his, told him, if you pick such and such and they, do something, no one will remember. If you pick this horse and he wins, no one will ever forget. And I think that for me, that's the reason I put East Avenue over Sovereignty. In my heart, I believe Sovereignty is a more likely winner. But here's one other quick note. In his last race, Sovereignty went to Manny Franco. A lot of people saying, oh, Junior wasn't aboard. Manny gave that horse a perfect ride. Manny will be on his belly riding for his life on East Avenue today and try to hold off the fellow color bear. I think it's a big week for Godolphin, and I do expect our Santa Anita Derby 1-2 finishers to make their presence felt too.
40-1 for Frank's top selection in the Kentucky Derby. I can tell you this. On our 10-race card, Frank doesn't like many horses that are chalks. As a matter of fact, he only likes 2 of them. We're going to find out who those horses might be. But before we do any of that, I'm going to go take a sip of water, take a break. Frank's going to give us the changes on today's card. We'll be right back to continue the seminar.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Kentucky Derby Day, and thanks for spending it at Santa Anita Park, the great race place. The track is fast, and the turf course is firm. The rail on the turf at 0 feet. Here are the early changes. In the first, scratch number 1, Potito. Early pick 5 starts with the first. Early pick 4 starts with race 2. There are no changes. In the third, scratch number 3, Sir Maximus. We have a middle pick 4 starting with the 4th race, number 8, Ready to Dare 1 over, and 9, Crimson Sea 2 pounds over. The pick 6 today, as mentioned, does have a carryover of $20,522. No scratches or jockey changes in the first leg of the pick 6. The Charlie Whittingham, presented by FanDuel, is race number 6, scratch 1, Wizard of Westwood. All turf pick 3 also starts with race 6. In the 7th race, number 8, Go-Go Prancer, 2 pounds over. Race 8, scratch number 1, T'Challa. In the 9th, number 6, Little Ditty, 2 pounds over. And in the 10th race, just the blinker note, and there is super high 5 wagering, and as Tom mentioned, $13,280 in the super high 5 carryover. Those are the early changes on today's card. Enjoy your afternoon at the Great Race Place. Good luck to those who participated in races on the West Coast, and in particular the Santa Anita Derby this afternoon and the Run for the Roses. They'll be at the gate for race 1 in 57 minutes at 1 p.m. We will be back in the studio momentarily.
How do you pronounce the favorite's name next? Welcome back. We're talking horse with Santa Anita track announcer Frank Mirahmadi. It's our pleasure to have him here with us on a very busy day for him. Frank, we already know who your Kentucky Derby selection is, but let's find out who your selections are on today's 10-race card. Kicking things off in race number 1, which begins the popular 50-cent early pick 5. We're sprinting 6 furlongs in the turf course. As you mentioned, the rails today on the turf course are at 0 feet. This is a race for starter optional claiming types. Scratch the 1, Potito. The original morning line favorite was number 5, News at 10. However, number 4, Gazone from the John Sadler barn is currently up on the board at 9-5. How'd you see race 1?
I like the 6 a little bit in here, Travel and Show. He's a big boy, and he's only won 1 of 12, but I thought last time he ranged up pretty nicely. He met News at 10 that day, and, it was just a neck or so in between those two. I just liked the way he had moved up against him. And I think Gazon was very impressive. I think there was another Horonis and Saddler horse in there where he absolutely aired in his comeback. So he certainly faced softer in breaking his maiden, but these aren't world beaters in that they're one for double digits in almost every case. And so therefore, as a result of that, I'm going to just take one of these experienced horses who's there or thereabouts. Good-looking horse, Craig Lewis, as usual, having his regular, consistent meet. And Armando Ayuso has certainly been catching the eye over the last year and a half here at Santa Anita Park. I went 6-4 in a race. It's not like, my best bet of the day or anything by that. I do have some strong opinions. This isn't one of them, but we have to pick them all. And I'll go 6-4 in the opener. You could use others if you wanted to kick off your pick 5.
Frank's top selection, number 6, Traveling Show, right now 4-1 on the tote board. As you can see, a wide open race if you can get by the favorite, number 4. Gazon, a question for you, Frank, on your top selection. Sired by Grayson. You have a photographic memory. Do you remember Grayson's career? Because I really didn't. I printed it up. In his second career start, he broke his maiden in a stakes race at Hollywood Park called the NTRA. I believe it was like a $60,000 stake race. He only ran.
I think it was a maiden race. That was actually that NTRA thing was actually a maiden race.
But the purse was huge. But he only ran on synthetic surfaces. He had a brief career, but wow, what a stallion he's turned out to be for California.
Yeah, he's been great, and Nick Alexander has really done the right thing by him in order to get him the right mares, and that brings back some great memories of Mike Mitchell, and also Steve Miotti worked in that barn, and
Phil D'Amato.
Yeah, Phil D'Amato obviously is the best graduate of that program, no question. Phil's an absolute beast as a trainer, and his horses, by the way, that have been shipping to the east side of the country or the middle of the country have been running off the screen. So don't ignore Mr. D'Amato over at Oaklawn and in Kentucky.
Race number 2 begins the 50-cent early pick 4. We're sprinting 6.5 furlongs in the main track for maiden claiming Cabaret. Fillies and mares in for a $50,000 tag. Got a field of 7. Number 2, Maria Talchief taking a drop down in class for the aforementioned trainer Phil D'Amato is the 9-5 morning line favorite. What say you about race 2, Frank?
Well, my strongest opinion is if Flash That Smile goes off at anywhere near 10-1, I'll be in a complete state of shock. This horse last time went off at 3-1, ran well in her comeback, and I almost got forced to pick her based on the absurdity of that morning line. But I'm going to pick
some absurdities in the morning line lately.
I'm going to pick her second in this case because I think she rates a look. She's got speed. But Elsa Dutton is my top selection in here. 1 of 2 for Nick Alexander and Phil D'Amato. And I think actually perhaps the more likely of the two to win. Maria Talchief certainly is more accomplished with a second and third thus far. But Elsa Dutton on a pedigree side is out of a mare, a Grayson mare. What a stunning development that is. But a mare who actually did very well, earned almost $200,000 in dirt sprints in her life, and comes out of a race where Kiku Ride came back and was stretched out by Craig Lewis and won very nicely. Miss Practical also came back, and there was a second that came out of that race. So it was a productive race that was run on April 5th. And I think that she's going to be better off on the dirt than she was on the turf. And so therefore, I'm going for a slight upset here. I went 4-3 in that order. But you cannot possibly leave out the 3 if you're playing the early pick 5 because of the fact that this horse is a horse that is going to get bet down for sure.
We talked about owner Nick Alexander already. Let's talk about Harris Farm and Mr. Harris himself. He's been obviously a big proponent of California racing and a big advocate of yours as well.
John Harris?
Yes.
What a great man, an absolute legend. And obviously, he's gone through some health things. Father Time is undefeated. He's getting up there.
Loves horse racing.
Loves horse racing. I know that, he's done a lot for me. He got me the Santa Rosa job for the 1 year I worked at. I always remember that. That was, I think, in 2009. I worked 1 season there, and then I subsequently did seminars and worked up there. But he's always been on my side, and he's just a great guy. I actually sat in his box when Zenyatta won the Breeders' Cup Classic here.
Wow.
He was with a guy named Batman Abtahi, and it was a fun. There were 3 of us.
The grandstand was really rocking that day.
It was rocking. Tears were rolling.
One of the top 10 sports moments in LA history, according to the LA Times.
Top live sporting event I've ever been to. The crowd was insane. Tears were rolling for everyone. And mine were rolling too, and I didn't use Zenyatta, and it wasn't for that reason. It was just one of those great moments in life that it was just something that you knew that fit Trevor Deming's iconic call, "This is unbelievable," when that took place. I didn't like her in there, and she mowed me right down and right out of everything. And so, but that's not why I had tears in my eyes, I can promise you. That was a great, great moment, and one that I shared with Mr. Harrison, that I've enjoyed many moments with him in Northern California, at the various fairs over the years, and also at the CTBA Awards. Just a legend and a lovable guy. And he won a nice race again yesterday with Hector Berrios for Carla Gaines. That's a nice horse too, good-looking animal that came back and won for the 2nd time in a row. Oh, I want to mention one quick thing. By the way, the 7, Smiling Forever.
In race 2.
Yeah, in race 2. But that thing is related that filly, I should say, is related to Boss Sully, who almost won a big stake at Churchill moments ago.
Wow. Race number 3, we're sprinting the abbreviated sprint distance of 5.5 furlongs in the main track. This race is for $16,000 claimers, non-winners of 2 races lifetime. Scratch the 3, Sir Maximus leaves us with a field of 5. Number 4 looks rare as a first-time gelding, but the Maury Line favorite from the George Papadromo barn is number 5, Zombo Bombo, 2-1 on the Maury Line. Talk to us about race 2, Frank.
These are races I absolutely hate having to handicap because I have no clue.
TTP, turn the page.
You got to turn the page quickly after I give you the one Naftis as my top selection in here. Going to the main track. I think this horse might actually be okay on the main track. And then the 6, Cupid's Crusader, who does own a win over the track here at Santa Anita, which is a rarity among this group. The 4 looks rare, also has a win, but good luck. Your pick is as good as mine. I have no clue in race 3. I went 1-6 because I had to.
On a 10-race card, Santa Anita offers a 50-cent middle pick 4, which begins in race 4, and we're back on the turf course sprinting. 6.5 furlongs on the flat turf course. It's for maiden claimers, fillies and mares, in for a $50,000 tag. Good field of 10. Hats off to the Santa Anita Racing Office and the entire personnel. They're putting together tremendous cards. We've seen this in the pick 6, Frank. Usually it's either one ticket or a carryover for like the last 6 racing days, indicating that it's full fields, competitive racing. It's fun to handicap.
No question. We've got some good racing. We've had some big pay. Look, all these people talk about California prices. What about yesterday?
Pick 5.
70,000?
Correct.
I mean, seriously.
Correct. For 50 cents.
I mean, I wouldn't have hit it if I had a $30,000 ticket, but that's besides
today's
the point.
result charts.
Yeah, exactly. Give me the newspaper.
Let's see if you can hit race 4, where we've got the field of 10 that I mentioned. The Maury Line favorite, a little bit lukewarm at that, is number 6, Cloudy Woman, Hector Barrios in the saddle. Thumbs up or thumbs down on the favorite here?
I think you can use that horse for sure. I put a little mark next to her as a possibility. But the horse I went to from a value perspective, at least early on with the morning line, is the 1, Infinity Dream, for trainer Richard Baltus. This horse was way back and then did finish well. I gave her a decent call at the end of it, too, that she had picked it up very nicely. And today you get Armando Ayuso as opposed to Flavian Pratt. Mr. Pratt's busy with some other things today. But the winner of that race was a 3-5 easy jog fest. Ready to Dare finished second in this race for Mike Pipey. And then, the only disappointing fact is that Ready to Dare came back with a flat 4th in her next start. She did have a little trouble that day. But I just think that from an upside perspective, she's a little fresher than her rival, Ready to Dare. And she just only did some running the last furlong or so. I think Infinity Dream has some upside in here. And the 5, Ellie Moore, for Peter Miller. Peter Miller has won some races for new owner Les Blake, who's given him some. And so, to me, the only horses that I marked in this race were the 1, the 5, and the 6.
Frank, I'm going to give you a compliment before we take a look at race number 5.
I need one.
Well, stroke fests are always good every once in a while. So, I watch a lot of replays, so I do a lot of serious handicappers. And one replay that sticks out, and you've done this time and time again, and you mentioned it just in your analysis where you remember giving the rail horse in race number 4 a good call at the end. You just have an uncanny ability to kind of identify horses that might have class or that might even improve off their most recent effort. The example I would give you is Public Assembly. Off that layoff for trader Phil D'Amato. Came back, ran it at 1.25 miles distance and aired that particular afternoon. But your call coming down the lane could not have contained more accolades. We're looking at a future superstar, whatever you were saying, but you were hinting.
She did it with style.
Correct. And she came back to win the stakes race in her next start. Where do you get that from? It's
the greatest, the greatest of all time, Trevor Denman. I mean, basically, I watch races as Trevor Denman to this day. I mean, that's really, I know that sounds weird, but but
it's live TV. You know what I mean? You don't have a second chance to think about what you're going to say.
Trevor Denman said it very well. We've said it many times on this seminar. He told me when I got this job, open your eyes and tell them what you see. And I spent so many years in the grandstands here. Trevor got here in '83, so I was in 10th grade at the time. And, I was here quite often ever since that time. I mean, there are very few weekends I wasn't here until I started working. I actually had to miss a lot of Santa Anita because of working around the country, right? But I just think that, in the end, I studied from the greatest. And so I know how to read a race. I'm very confident in myself and what I'm looking at. And I think that, I believe that if you, here's what I will say, first of all, a lot of people get high on their own supply. And I'm really not a fan of that. And I'm not one of those people. But I will say this. In the race call, you will get the honest opinion of everything that's happened, including sometimes a horse. There was one yesterday that I said picked it up late, and then I said, well, it gets a slice, and it turned out it was 5th, so it was a very small slice. I even mentioned that right after I said slice because it didn't hit the board. Probably didn't deserve that call. But the point is, I think it's important. There are a lot of handicappers that use replays. And I believe I am the friend of the replay watcher because I'm going to help them by at least telling them what I see. I'm going to miss some things. I'm going to make mistakes. We all do. But I think that the replays, if you watch and listen, like I always say, My best story about that is one day I was betting a race down the hill. It was at Hollywood Park. It was a simulcast race. And I'd called a race. And I go, wait a minute, let me go listen to this call. And I listened to the call and I believed myself. And it turned out the horse was nowhere, but at least I went with what I believed. You know what I mean? Like, I always say this, like, when I watch the replays before I come to, because I don't typically, sometimes I don't even remember horses that are coming back. By the way, the public assembly thing was fantastic because one of the co-owners of Kentucky Gal and I got into a major text fest battle right after that race. My buddy Relentless Ray, and he was trying to tell me how Kentucky Gal was better. I said they could have gone 6 more laps, and this other filly's going to win a grade 1. I would highly recommend you take off the rubber band the next time public assembly runs. Then he told me what Phil D'Amato said after the race. I'm thinking, like, what do you think Phil's going to tell you? Right. That I ran some absolute freak show against you? He's going to tell you that, hopefully you're going to go and win the Santa Barbara. I mean, you got to juggle things when you're a trainer.
And you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, so I appreciate your compliment. But here's the thing. I think my biggest fan might be your buddy, Frank Scattoni, and that means a lot because he's a harsh critic. But you got to, look, we have a serious audience here. This is Santa Anita, and you got to you got to be right. And so, I make mistakes. I'll give a phantom call. Even in the race yesterday, when Tapatia Leah's daughter,
2-year-olds.
Yeah, when the
full of Tapatia Leo.
Correct. When that thing won, the 6 was coming fast.
Correct.
And so I think like anyone who had the 6 would have gotten up for a second, but the 6 was coming fast, the other horse. But the truth is the other horse still had something. So you just, in my opinion, you just got to be real, tell the people what's happening. And just, I trust my judgment. And I think that I'm pretty accurate. So if I make a mistake, I think the fans will still have the volume up. My biggest statement I would say about race calling, if the haters, and there are several of them on Twitter, most of them are muted.
I'll take the over.
Believe me, if they're unleashing, I know one thing, if they're turning the volume up, mission accomplished.
Correct.
That's my goal.
And obviously you're carrying on the legacy of Trevor Denman quite well. So
I try to be his best student. That's my top priority because I couldn't warm him up on his worst day, and because he's the greatest of all time.
Race number 5 begins the $2 pick 6. Post time for the $2 pick 6 commencement is 3:08 p.m. Pacific time before the start of the Kentucky Derby. And we kick things off in the pick 6, breeding 5.5 furlongs in the main track. This is a California-bred 3-year-old filly race, non-winners of one other than allowance optional claiming race. Field of 7, number 3, Fibonacci's Ride, coming off the layoff since last September. 1 for 1 so far in her career is the 2-1 morning line favorite, adding Lasix. I know you like a lot of prices on today's card. Is this race one of them?
I picked the 5 on top. And by the way, if you're listening and you have a pen, I'm going to tell you all the horses I think you can use in a pick 6 here because we only picked 2 a race. So some of them was going to add them, but that's not the way it works. So it's 2 a race. In this race, I put the 5 Spotted Hayes, who aired in her debut, came back and ran well on the turf. Comes back to the main track, should be tough here. By the way, I'm a big fan of Raylu Gutierrez. This guy is an absolute stone cold rider. Don't let this guy beat you too often. He's
Jeff
excellent.
Mullins loves to use him, 46% with a limited sample size when they team up together.
And he uses Hector Berrios. Like, he likes these guys that
Winners
are aggressive.
win.
Winners win. Raylu is I love the way that guy rides. When he's mostly at the fairgrounds, he has teamed up. He's won a lot of races for Brett Calhoun there. I like Raylu Gutierrez. I don't know that I've ever met him, but believe me, when I do, I'll be letting him know.
Big Buffalo Bills fan. Believe it or not. Yeah. Upstate New York.
Well, Brian Martinez and I are, we've battered them in the Super Bowl with our old team when we were kids. But anyway.
Spotted Hayes, your top choice.
5, the 3, you have to, I didn't watch the replay of this, but 6-length Romp is the 2-1 favorite. This horse was no secret. I also put little marks by the 2 and the 4. And even the 1 comes out of a race that has turned out to be productive. This is a tough leg to get through to start this pick 6. I would go 2, 3, 4, 5, but if you really had a big bankroll, you might add the 1. That's a little much. I don't think the 1's good enough, so I'd go 2, 3, 4, 5 if you can use the pick 6.
Race number 6 is the feature race on our card here at Santa Anita. It's the Grade 2 Charlie Whittingham Stakes presented by FanDuel. $200,000 guaranteed as the purse, going 1.25 miles on the turf course. Race 6 also begins the 50-cent late pick 5, as well as the $3 all turf pick 3 with a reduced 15% takeout. Scratch the 1 Wizard of Westwood leaves us with a feel of 6. A Tetlon on the bottom from the John Sheriff's Barn. Hector Barros in the saddle once again. 3-2 morning line favorite, fresh off a graded stakes victory. What say you about race 6, Frank?
This horse looked so good in the post parade last night. I'm not giving you a red board. I didn't even text anyone about it, nor did I. I almost tweeted about this horse when I was watching him warm up, and then he galloped at 9-1. I love this horse. I think he's a stone cold single today. I think he will gallop in this race, and I think the 3 City Exile will be second. If I was playing the pick 6, I would single the 7 in this race. I think he's that good. And if you want a little tiny piece underneath, 7-3-2. But I would say that Atitlan is my best bet of the day.
50 minutes in between post time for both race 6 and 7. That's because we're making room for the Kentucky Derby, which goes off at 3:57. After that race is concluded, will run race 7 at 4:28 p.m. and this begins the 50-cent late pick 4. Race 7 does. Again, this race is 5.5 furlongs in the main track. Maiden special weight Calbred's a good field of 8. Number 8, Go-Go Prancer is a first-time gelding. The Maury Lane favorite. Number 5, Proud Racer, putting blinkers on for trainer Richie Baltas. Give us your thoughts on race 7, Frank.
I'm going to start with my top pick. And by the way, my top 2 selections in here, the 7 and the 5, neither one of them changed leads last time. And I like horses that change leads, even though the legendary Jack Van Berg, whom I eulogized in 2018, one of the biggest honors of my life in Hot Springs, went back to my old stomping grounds. And I did that for him because he had specifically asked me to do it.
He requested, right?
Yeah, and I did him right. And
he was a man's man. I loved him.
What a legend. You know, the first race I ever called in my life? Jack Van Berg. Who would know that I would then eulogize him? And that, you know, and it happened right here where he told me that the first time I was doing a party here for Zenyatta. I was the MC and he was the auctioneer. And he said to me in front of the whole crowd, when I die, when they put me in a box, exactly his words, I want you to talk about me. Wow. And then he kept reminding me, and he
what
called,
an honor.
He had his daughter call me with 40 hours before he passed away to remind me to do that. It's like,
you know, he was the innovator of stables from coast to coast. Yeah. He was the first one to do 100%. That. And I was traveling a lot during that time period. There was one night on a red eye when he and I were on the same plane. He didn't know who I was, but he took up the whole row. The plane was empty. So he worked his butt off. So he was laying down in coach, in 3. Well, I didn't get that close to him, but it was just a funny visual. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he was a very determined man. Great man. And he was innovative.
What a legend, man. What a cool guy. What a nice man and just a real class act. I know I did him right, so that's good. All right, so I do like Day at the Track. Now, Day at the Track didn't change leads with a perfect trip last time out, but ended up finishing 3rd. And I just think, and the runner-up Western Freedom came back in 110 flat for Brian Corner and Legacy Ranch and Gallop. And I just think that this is a horse that was close enough in his dirt debut to do it here. Okay, the 5. Proud Racer. If you took 3 to 5 last time, that was a sick beat because he nailed the winner, but it was just one of those bad bobs right afterward. So I think you got to use those 2. And I'll tell you a horse that also you must consider is the 8, Go-Go Prancer. Go-Go Prancer was with my main man, Jeff Bondi, for his debut. They switched trainers. And last time out, he started dropping back on the turn to where I thought he might even run dead last as the favorite. But he dug in a little bit on the rail and actually fought back and got 3rd. I would have never bet he'd be 3rd at the quarter pole. And he goes back to the dirt and he's gelded. So I think that he rates a look. I really flip-flopped several times between these 3 horses. I went 7, 5, 8. I would use all 3. I don't know anything about the workouts on the 2 or the 3, the first-time starters. So I would certainly look into that if you watch the workout reports and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, it would be the other 3.
Race number 8, we're back going 2 turns on the turf course. The distance is 1 1/8 miles. Also, race 8 begins the $3 late pick 3, once again with a reduced 15% takeout. We've got a field of 10 after the scratch of the rail horse, T'Challa. The morning line favorite is near the bottom, number 10, Zalamo for the Leonard Powell barn. Hector Barrios in store for a really big day if the morning line is correct. Talk to us about race 8, Frank.
I'm going to pick number 6, Niti. This horse has been threatening. He did win once, and he broke his maiden at odds of 17-1. So if you've been backing this horse since he got to the U.S., you're ahead money. Last time out, I just didn't think he had any pace to run into, and I think it was maybe a slightly better than look performance. And at 10-1, again, losing Juan Hernandez to the lesser-known Armando Ayuso, who rides the hair off of these horses. I think you can get a little bit of value with him. And then the 3, Spycatcher, is a very consistent individual and finally broke his maiden. But these kind of horses sometimes come back. Other horses you might want to consider in here is the 8, El Rey Rey, and the 9, Colinga Road. I really do love Colinga Road as a racehorse. He's only won 4 starts, but he's won $500,000, and he's as honest as the day is long. So those are the horses I would consider. I'm going to look for not a mild, but maybe a major upset in race 8.
Race number 9 begins the $5 late daily double, also with a reduced 15% takeout. And we kick off that wager going 1 mile on the main track. For maiden claimers, $20,000 is the claiming tag. We've got a field of 10. Number 4, Looking for Curly, is a first-time gelding. The Maury Lane favorite on the bottom. Number 10, Majestic Palisades from the Dean Pedersen barn, 8-5 on the Maury Lane. Mr. Pedersen has quite a 2025 so far. When he enters a horse and runs him or her, he means business.
Oh, he's a damn good trainer and real horseman. And
he's another man's man. You know what I mean? I want him on my side if I got in an alley fight.
Great guy, Dean. It's super cool. I've known him since the fairs. We always have kind words for each other. He's trained some really good horses, very limited. He's excellent with first-time starters and very under the radar with those. So look out for him always.
He's a great trainer to gamble on because typically his horses are not favored.
Yeah, you don't have to ask him much. You're not looking for
not messing around.
He's coming and like here. I was tempted to pick against this horse because, I mean, he's had several chances, but this is for Mr. Harris. The second and fifth place finishers. The second place finisher came back and won for 50. The fifth place finisher came back and won the maiden 20. This horse should win here, but if he's going to get beat, I think he could get beat too. I'm very worried about the 5 Bound to Succeed in this race. Those are the only 2 I would consider in this race. But Bound to Succeed, trying the dirt for the first time, he might, like his race 2 starts back, could annihilate this field. So beware of the 5. I went 10-5. Probably should have went 5-10 because it's better value. But I think in the end, Pedersen will win. But I wouldn't want to be. That's not what I would want to be unloading on it like 4-5.
Right.
Because let's face it, that horse has shown some vulnerability. But properly placed, should win. Outside post, the price is not going to be fair.
Frank, before we take a look at race number 10, a question for you. It actually relates to the Kentucky Derby and handicapping in general. I should have asked you this question early. Does a sloppy track impact your handicapping at all?
Sometimes, of course. I mean, there's sometimes good to go look at.
We go look at pedigree as an example.
I love that. Yeah, if you have Formulator or if you use internal.drf.com, which you shouldn't be doing unless you're working for a racetrack or working with the racing form, they'll show you sometimes how the family has done on off track. Those things are very real. And then, I know there's a lot of talk about bias, but on certain days in the mud, things, it's been very fair so far at Churchill today, which is fantastic. You've seen horses win wire to wire. You've seen horses come, down the middle of the racetrack. So I think it's important to pay attention to that. And there are some public handicappers around the country that are way better than others at taking races that are off the turf that go to the main track. It's not happening today at Churchill, but in general. I will say this with regard to morning lines, the most ridiculous thing in all morning lines is how many revised morning lines there are, yet when the surface changes, there's no revised morning line. This is absolutely mind-boggling because that's when you need it most, and it's never done at any track. Like, hello, what are we even doing here? Like, why make a horse from 4 down to 3 on a regular morning line when, in fact, a horse that's 20 might be 5-2 from a turf to dirt change? That's where the public needs your help. That's one of the head scratchers of all time. No revised morning lines on surface switches. Like, that's when you need it.
As one of my former bosses here at Sandy once said, Frank, you can't use logic in racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Race number 10, we need your help because there's a super high 5 carryover, $13,000 already in the pool, and we're spreading 6 furlongs on the turf course for fillies and mares, allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 1. Other than that, we've got a good field of 12 here. Number 1, Thermal is the lukewarm 9-2 morning line favorite. This super high 5 is going to pay fantastic, in my opinion, but who's the winner going to be and why?
I like the 4 Entrepreneurship. This looks like a private purchase for Ed and Teresa DeNike. They've been around a long time. My friend and yours, the late Big John, who always deserves a little shout out, one of my favorite buddies in racetrack history.
He loved horse racing also.
Oh, the text that we gave each other is like when a pitcher gave up 4 runs in the 9th, or when some team was up by 20 and suddenly down 3. I mean, I would love to just have a sheet of those texts from Big John and I, but I don't know how he knew them, but he always used to talk about the DeNikes, the green and yellow. Anyway, Entrepreneurship, my top pick. The 2 Invincible Molly, a very obvious contender here, and will probably get bet down from that 5-1. Takes the blinkers off, has beaten better. That horse figures. A couple others I put little marks next to. The 5, Sweet Galamine. The 6, Not a Sinner. The 9, Nini Diamond, just if you're looking for bombs away. And the bottom horse, the 12 at 30-1, Croissant. I put a little star by that one. Coming in from Hawthorne, from Team Block. I mean, Chris Block's a great trainer of turf horses out there. All of a sudden showing up here with one Ronald Ellis. You never know.
Ion Reich followed a similar pattern, if you remember, at Delmark. Shipped in, Team Block, the whole 9 yards.
I didn't know that.
Mr. Russell was the owner.
Nice.
Second time here in Southern California, whistled at 38-1.
Did not know that, but I love Ron Ellis. I think he's a great trainer, a man who was really good with the Wygod family way back when.
Sure.
And he's just, he stood the test of time. He's very consistent, very good claiming trainer to this day. And if I ever hit Powerball, Ron Ellis would have a lot of horses in this barn.
Frank, before I cut you loose, there's more wager to talk about, and I know you're a big fan of this wager. It's the $1 Coast to Coast Pick 5. It combines races both from Santa Anita and Gulfstream Park. It's a $1 minimum, low 15% takeout. As you can see on the screen, it begins with Gulfstream Park, race number 10 at 2:45 p.m. Pacific time. 3 races included from Santa Anita. In that wager, you've already heard Frank's opinion. Get involved with that wager. It always pays well. Frank, it's always fun having you sit with me for 40 minutes and shoot the breeze and walk down memory lane. You got a busy day today. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Good luck with your selections, both here at Santa Anita as well as at Churchill Downs.
My man, thank you so much for having me today. Best of luck, everyone. Enjoy. This is a big holiday for the racing world to enjoy the Kentucky Derby, and We've got a great card here. I mean, this pick six today could pay very well, and with 20,000 to kick it off, that's when there's a little bit of value. I don't like big carryovers, believe it or not, but a small one like this, you're going to get enough action in there. And on a day like this, just like if you look at yesterday, I think New York carried, we carried because people are watching other races. Like that's the time. Like if you could scoop a $20,000 pool, you'd like that, wouldn't you? You could have done it yesterday.
We'd be in Vegas tonight if that happens. It's a national holiday for horse players, everybody. Enjoy the Kentucky Derby and the 10 races that Frank Mirahmadi will call throughout the afternoon. Thanks for watching and good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we direct your attention to the flagpole in the infield as well as the winner's circle. We ask that you please rise for the national anthem as we introduce Rick Tyree, Bill Frazier, and Forrest Powell. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Kentucky Derby Day. Welcome to Santa Anita Park. The track conditions are brought to you by John Deere. The condition of the track, as usual, is fast, and the condition of the turf course, firm. The rail on the turf is at 0 feet. Here are the changes. In race 1, scratch number 1, Potito, early pick 5, starts with race 1. In the second, beginning of the early pick 4. No changes. Race 3, scratch number 3, Sir Maximus. There is a middle pick 4. Our good friend Leo Vukmanovic once blasted off in the middle pick 4, so please pay attention in the middle pick 4. It starts with race 4. Number 8, Ready to Dare, 1 pound over. 9, Crimson Sea, 2 pounds over. Race 5 starts the $2 pick 6. There's a $20,522 carryover in the pick 6. Just the one blinker note. The 6th is the Charles Whittingham, presented by FanDuel. Scratch number 1, Wizard of Westwood. Late pick 5 and all turf pick 3. Start with the 6th. In the 7th, number 8, Go-Go Prancer, 2 pounds over. Race 8, scratch number 1, T'Challa. Late pick 3 starts with the 8th. In the 9th, number 6, Little Diddy, 2 pounds over. And in the 10th, there's a super high 5 carryover of $13,280. Just the one blinker note. Enjoy your afternoon at the Great Race Place. It's Kentucky Derby Day. Post time for the opener here is in 26 minutes at 1 p.m.